I'm Bill.
And welcome to episode 51. We are
We-
back, bitches.
We back. We gone long time.
You're really going with the Jar Jar Binks, huh?
I am, because it's classic.
It's one of the most hated characters in the Star Wars universe.
Not on this show.
This is why you dissed the other podcast, because they had hate for Jar Jar. You had some love for him, and so you just couldn't be around the people who were just throwing out all the anger and bile and vitriol for your character, huh?
I think you need to either put your microphone closer or turn your level up. I'm having difficulty hearing you.
In America, I only need to do two things. That's stay
much
black
better.
and pay taxes. That's what all I need to do.
Well, you've got the first one covered. I think you're much better now. I don't know what you were doing before, but it's much better now. What happened? What'd you do?
I did nothing. I just be me, baby. I'm just being me.
Oh boy.
You know what, Bill? This is very upsetting. I've been getting a lot of emails. I've been actually getting some face-to-face contact. People have been very upset with our loosey-goosey approach to our podcast. The last time we were on air was episode 50. That was about August 6th. It is now damn near August 27th.
It is actually August 27th. Not near.
I
It
had
actually
Superfan Carlos tell me that he's upset with our consistency, that he looks forward to listening to our podcast, and therefore he was suggesting that maybe we have some sort of fill-ins. You know, bullpen pitchers, relief pitchers who come in and when others aren't available.
That works when I'm out, but what happens if you're out? Who's going to run the show?
Listen, I'm like the sun shining. You know, I'm always, it's just, I'm there, always rising. Grand
So when
opening.
we say pitch hitter, we really mean a sub for Bill. That's what we actually mean.
Well, you know, if we're going to call it like it is, I'm always here. I'm always here. I am the glue. I am the glue. I know you consider yourself the talent, but I am the glue.
You know what glue's made out of, right?
No, actually, I don't.
I think it's made out of the hooves of horses.
Yeah, that's right. I'm like a lipstillion. What is that? Lipstallion? The ones that in Spain, the horses that prance
Stallion?
around? Lip,
I don't know what the
a
hell you're
lip,
talking about.
you've never saw Crimson Tide, then.
I have not.
The Lipstallions. It's a special type of horse. Anyway, moving on. I digress. So
Okay.
we've been missing some time because you were unavailable, and
We
this is what
missed-
it's about.
1 week. And then the other week, we had to get thrown off because you had to take a vacation. So we moved the show for a week because you were on vacation. Then we recorded a show, and then I was out for a week. So it's kind of like we're still there. We're just a little bit somewhat delayed.
Shame. Shame.
I can't believe you would bring up my dirty laundry.
You had a vacation. I don't blame you for that. You have to do things. Life happens. I mean, I don't happen to have a girlfriend who has a daughter that has to go to college, so I'm always available for things like, anything other than illness, which was what kept me away. But you have, a life. You have things you have to do. I understand.
Okay. All right. Listen. So I guess we're just not going to have any type of relief pitchers for our show. Then.
No,
We're just going to skip a week. Then is that what?
No,
this is
I'm
gonna be?
actually fine with it. I don't know how, who or how, that would work. But since it looks like I'm going to be the one to be replaced, then I guess I'll just leave that all in your hands. So that's fine.
You know, I feel like somebody coming to you with some sort of like, Bill, we need to do a review. It's been a couple years. You're doing some great stuff here, but these are some of the things we need to work on. And
Now, how do you think that would go? Let's just say in a professional setting where, like, perhaps my supervisor or boss would come and say something similar like that to me. Which, by the way, in my 25 years career has never happened yet.
I guess you're not going to take it too well then, huh? You're not going to be
It's
open to
probably not likely that I'm going to accept it with a open mind and a willing to change. That's
Well, you know
not
what?
likely.
You know what? I may have to soft pedal some of my critiques. Maybe massage it a little bit. That's what I'll do.
So,
All right.
so how this is how I imagine it going. Like you and your pitch hitter person, whoever that may be, are gonna just have some kind of like fanboy hate fest for like 2 hours on the week that I'm out. It's just gonna be like, I hate this. I hate this worse. This sucks. That sucks even harder. That's how that's gonna go, isn't it?
Well, if I got Superfan Carlos on the show, there's going to be a lot of hate for some of these episodes of Game of Thrones. Oh, God, yes. Yes, you're right.
Wow.
I grow powerful.
Okay. All right. I'm just wondering, seeing how that, picturing that in my mind.
Well, maybe I can find somebody that's got a little bit of like yin to the yang, somebody that's sitting there that goes, I was talking with my woman and we'll get into this a little bit later briefly.
Can I ask a question before we get into it? Does she actually enjoy being referred to as your woman? It sounds like Captain Caveman type of speak. It sounds very like, what do I want to say? Neanderthal-like. My woman comes over tomorrow. My woman make dinner. Dinner good. Woman lay with man. All is peaceful in world. Woman go to work. Woman earn her keep. I mean, is there any other way? Can you call her your girlfriend?
No, I'm a traditional. This is how I roll here, okay?
Does she refer to you as her man? Is she like, my man's coming over, so you girls got to have to get out? It was nice playing cards, but my man needs attention. Is that how she speaks?
Actually, I don't know because, I'm a man, so that means I only really half listen. So
right. Okay.
Now she looks at me when I say my woman, though. She kind of raises that eyebrow. She's trying to figure out if she really likes it or not. It's that whole thing.
I understand. It has a certain connotation to it, like objectification, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I just throw it out there. You know what? There's a little bit of charm with the way I say it. You got to put a little sugar in there.
Not sure. Not sure about the charm.
Anyway, I was speaking to my woman this morning, and I was talking about my, this Game of Thrones episode 6 that just came out last week, and I was giving her my 2 cents on it. She doesn't watch the show, but then I told her I decided to give her your sort of response to my vitriol. And she, at the end of it, she kind of goes, well, I understand where Bill's coming from or something. And I kind of looked at her side eye. And anyway, I guess my point is maybe she can be the yin. She doesn't really know anything about the popular cinema, but you need somebody else that has a little bit of an opposite open mind to things.
I understand opposite and open mind, but the woman has no interest in just about anything that would be on this outline. I don't understand exactly what would keep her awake for 2 hours. I don't think she's really gonna give that much of a care about it. Honestly, I don't think this is any of her type of thing.
Well, the final episode of Game of Thrones comes on tonight. I mean, the final season ending episode comes on tonight. So she's going to come over and watch it with me. She's also bringing me some monkey bread over too.
So wait, hold on a second. Has she watched any of the other 6 episodes and 6 seasons?
I think just one.
The Red Wedding?
No. Just some random episode of this season. She just saw.
How in the hell? I understand. I understand, it's like an event and, she's coming. I don't know. I suppose it would be like if people invited me to the Super Bowl, which has happened before, and I've sat there going, I don't know what the fuck is happening. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what these people are doing. I don't care. Maybe, she will catch on quickly, but it seems like that's a lot of material for her to digest in just 1 hour. Maybe you can give
No,
her some kind of like cribs note before the show.
No, she did do some crib notes. She actually did some YouTube, like, you know, here's the 6 seasons of Game of Thrones boiled down in 15 minutes. I think she did something
That's
like
just so wrong. That's like saying, let me go see Avengers Infinity War Part 2, even though I've not seen any of the previous 17 Marvel movies. And let me go on to YouTube and watch like the best of Marvel Cinematic Universe in 10 minutes video. I just find that just completely antithetical to the whole point of being a geek.
I think you probably have to look at it more as the people clearly aren't interested in the material because otherwise they would have watched it. So, but maybe if they watched, let's say, Avengers, Return of Ultron or the Infinity War, that maybe it might pique their interest to go back and watch the previous 17 movies. I mean, I think that's the hope. That maybe when she watches this final episode of Game of Thrones, she'd be like this, this show seems of interest to me. Let's start from the beginning. What do you think?
Okay. We'll discuss it after you tell me in 6 weeks that she's not seen another single episode or a minute of another Game of Thrones episode. And in fact, you didn't make it through the whole episode because A, either she fell asleep, or B, you fell asleep, or C, the two of you fell asleep.
I'm not going to fall asleep. Anyway,
Okay.
So let's get this show started. It's been a long time. I'm feeling a little bit rusty. Are you feeling rusty over there?
Nope, because it's like riding a bike. I'm like a fine wine. I get better with age, so I don't need any refreshers because my shit's on lock.
You're not short on confidence, I see. Well, Bill, I'd like to give a shout out. Act like I have a heart here, and I do care. There was, we had the passing of superfan Carlos's mom,
Yes.
and the service was on Thursday. So I'd like to dedicate the show to her.
Well, that's very
Carlos
nice.
and his son. It was a very, very, what do you call it, touching ceremony. I kind of had to choke back my tears on some of the things. A lot of pictures, a lot of things. It's a huge loss. So a little shout out to them.
Well, that's cool.
We also lost somebody else. I mean, this is the Popular Cinema Podcast. We also lost Toby Hopper.
Hooper, but okay.
It was being funny.
Okay.
Toby Hooper. Did you see that?
I did.
He is the director of several movies that I grew up on. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974, the Salem's Lot movie in 1979. That was a TV movie. By the way, Bill, that movie still scares the shit out of me to this day. It kept me up at night because, did you see Salem's Lot, the TV movie?
I don't think I've ever seen the whole thing. I think I've seen parts of it.
Do you remember the scene or the parts that you did see where the little vampire boy comes back and he's like, his fog-like shadow rises up to the bedroom window and is like knocking on it, scraping on the window?
No, I just remember the Nosferatu-looking vampire sort of being in the coffin and maybe coming out of the coffin at some point. That's really the only memory I have of that movie.
Did you find it to be scary or no?
I found it to be too scary for me when it originally aired. I remember there being some kind of like hoopla or publicity for it when it came out and like the kids in the neighborhood talking about it, but it wasn't something that I really thought I was going to get into. So
yeah, anyway, it scared the shit out of me back in the time, but I was a young lad. I was a wee lad. So He also did Funhouse in 1981 and of course Poltergeist in 1982.
Well, sort of.
Well, sort of. He was working along with some people on that one, I imagine, right? Who else was
Well, they
working on
said that Steven
Poltergeist?
Spielberg ghost directed that movie, so.
Okay, all right. I got you on that one. Then he did a lot of other stuff out there. Anyway, it's a tough loss. Tough loss for cinema world.
Yeah, he was 74, so I mean, he lived a long life. I mean, he wasn't like young, but
Yeah. So shout out to Toby. Anyway, let's move on. Are we moving on?
sure.
All right, Bill. I know we're doing this loose script, and I said we just kind of wing it because you think it's more natural that way, and I think you're probably right as I'm starting to talk here. But I had so many thoughts since the last episode. I just wanted to make sure I wrote them down.
Okay.
Anyway, you've heard about the Game of Thrones episode 6 leak last week. Apparently, someone over there in the machine pressed a button and it was released over in Spain. And then people were like downloading it and shipping it off to people and their friends. And it was hitting Twitter. And I was affected by this. And
So are
I'm
you saying
telling
you watched it?
No, I did not watch it because I refuse to watch it because I want to watch it officially when it comes out on HBO. I pay for HBO. I don't mind waiting. But the thing about it is, as I was clicking around, because I'm part of the internet world. I'm part of the Twitterverse. I
You
saw
are
a
jacked
picture.
in. You're like in the Matrix.
I am fully connected. I'm
Mhm.
fully connected. I don't know what to do. I can't unplug, Bill. I can't unplug. So I see this picture of a dragon that appears to be dead. And I immediately clicked off of it. But the image is already burned in my mind of a dead dragon. And I'm like, fuck. Are they going to kill a dragon in this episode?
I thought they already killed one of them last week.
No, they did not.
They didn't? I thought I
No.
heard that. Okay.
No, they killed one. And so I knew what happened. And I talked to Superfan Carlos, and he's trying to stay spoiler free for once in his life. And I go, did you see something that starts with the letter D? And he goes, a picture? And he goes, yeah, I saw something that starts with the letter D. And we go like this, say no more. And we were both tainted. My point is, I'm going to bring up to you because I think might be an expert at this and might have some thoughts on this. What do you do in this world today when things get leaked and there's Twitter and there's news and there's Reddit? How do you stay spoiler free in this world? I just don't know.
Because there's a feature on Twitter called Mute. And you can go in there and mute any words that you don't want to appear in your timeline. For example, a couple of weeks ago, there was an Entertainment Weekly cover story on The Last Jedi,
Okay.
which started leaking photographs and storyline tidbits, and it felt like too much information for me, too early. So I went to my Twitter settings and I went to mute words and I typed in every permutation of Star Wars, The Last Jedi, hashtag The Last Jedi, hashtag Star Wars that I could think of. Probably maybe 15 or 20 variations on the title. And then I went back to my Twitter, and now I have no idea what's going on because I don't see any tweets that have any of those words in them. It's wonderful.
So then you go back to this mute button and then you just delete it to get the information back after it's time?
Correct.
Is that? Huh.
So you could go to Twitter, for example, and type in Game of Thrones, hashtag Game of Thrones, hashtag dragon, capital dragon, little lowercase dragon, whatever you want to do to get rid of those mentions in your timeline.
So now you're making me like I'm just lazy if I don't want to do that then, huh? That's the
Well,
only way
I mean, it's either that or you take your chances with being spoiled. Apparently, this seems like an important thing to you, so.
Okay, all right. So let's just say I don't go to Twitter as often anymore. Like, let's just say I'm going to just cut down on my Twitter activity. What happens when I go to the internet? Just general like Google and Yahoo. I like to check out what's happening.
I would suggest that you stick to a timeline feature like a Twitter or a Facebook type of thing so that you can have your information from one source, which is, by the way, really the way you should be doing it anyway, because it's just so much easier than visiting a lot of different sites. And then just, like I said, mute them. That way you have more control over what you see and what you don't see anyhow.
Okay, well, you're offering solutions. I'm still. I just don't see how it works.
Okay, just get spoiled, motherfucker. Really, I'm giving you the way out. And you're like, I see your answer and solution to my problem, but I
just-
decide not to take it.
I don't know if I'm going to go to Twitter and type in like Game of Thrones, hashtag dragon, hashtag. It just seems too much.
Why is it too much? It's a word. You go into Twitter or Google and type in words all day long. You can't go and type words that you don't want to see information about.
Game of Thrones has a lot of characters. All right, I'm not going to go down. I'm not going to go any further with it. I mean, you're offering solutions. I just have to open up my mind. Is there anything else out there for the people?
I
Should they
suppose
just
you
shut
could
off
use.
their computer?
Yeah, I suppose you could do that, but that's not likely, right?
No, not feasible.
No. I mean, I don't know. I'm sort of going on a Twitter purge anyway, because right now I follow like 815 people on Twitter, and it's just a ridiculous amount of people. I don't even know why I'm following this many people, and a lot of it has to do with propagating fake news, which is getting on my last nerve. So I'm really trying to whittle it down to reputable news sources and not fanboy blogs as much. Because first of all, the fanboy blogs get on my last fucking nerve. It's like hanging out in a comic shop with fucking nerds all day. And it gets on my last nerve. Because everybody has their sort of like fanboyish slant to things. Which basically means the haterade just flows freely throughout my timeline and it gets on my nerves. So
it's kind of interesting in this world of ours that we have. You've got the conservatives, you got the libs, in the nerd geek fest. You do have your extreme factions, huh?
Well,
Just
on the internet, it's even louder because they sort of feed off each other like snakes who eat their young. They just kind of like once somebody spews some, like for example, let's go with this last, which we have going on later on in the news and notes, but this last week with the whole mix up with Matt Reeves and his quote about his Batman movie not being in the DCEU, and then it catches fire like in an instant. Somebody pulled up an old interview that he gave like last July and pulled a quote from it and decided to tweet it out. And it just became sort of like a fanboy meltdown with everybody going, oh my God, Matt Reeves' Batman isn't even in the DCEU. And that lasted for like a whole day. And it was unnecessarily stressful to people who are into the DCEU, like me and you, thinking, they're just getting this sort of universe off the ground. Justice League is their big linchpin film, and then now they're going to put a Batman movie outside of that universe. That doesn't even make any sense. And then people said then Ben Affleck isn't going to be the star in the Batman. All of this nonsense. DCU had a rough week on Twitter, and the next day, which I don't know why it took him so long, Matt Reeves finally came out, because the whole idea of Twitter is to be able to disseminate correct information when bullshit like that starts spewing out. But it took him at least 24 hours to come back from Matt Reeves to tweet out that, he was misquoted. And of course, his Batman is in the DCEU and he expects him to, be a part of that universe. But it was a rough 24 hours. It's shit like that makes me just want to throw fucking my phone in the toilet. Flush.
Well, what do you think the problem is with that? Obviously, for the people, do I have to give a background? Matt Reeves is going to be directing the standalone Batman film. But either way, are you blaming the person that picked out a couple sentences from an interview from, you said, this past July?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last month, I guess.
That's something that went sort of under the radar? That's what you're implying, that it was sort of under the radar to begin with. And then somebody tweeted it out, and then it caught fire. Are you blaming the person that tweeted out that comment from July?
I am. I'm blaming them for 75% to 85% of it, because it's nonsense, and I find it's part of the DCEU haterade narrative that runs rampant through Twitter anyway. And I find that people pick apart the littlest or find any which way they can to misquote or misconstrue people's intentions in their own quotes, and then make it part of the DC EU sucks mentality that's really out there. And then the other 15%, I sort of blame Matt Reeves for not correcting it faster than he did, because he could have put a stop to that a lot faster, and that wouldn't have gone on as long as it did.
This is exhausting. I mean,
it is exhausting, which is why I want to throw my phone in the toilet sometimes.
I imagine if I'm just like if I'm, okay, let's just say if I'm, the orange clown, President Trump over there. I understand that if you're tweeting out that if anything happens, you want to respond because this is your modus operandi. This is your direct line to the people, straight into the vein. But Matt Reeves, is he really on the front line like that? I mean, the man's out there sitting there probably trying to pick out costumes, trying to find out if matte black or flat black is the color for the costume, pick out Batmobile, cars, try out different things. Is he really hooked into Twitter to find out that people are upset with something he said in July?
If he's not on Twitter, which he has a Twitter account, so that would imply that he's somehow tech savvy enough to have a Twitter handle, then I'm sure his assistant or his friend's assistant or his wife or his cousin or his friends that he hangs out with are on Twitter or on the internet and are reading the information and are direct messaging him. I'm sure somebody at Warner Brothers, like the publicist, is going, we need your attention to this matter. I'm sure his phone was blowing up, even if he isn't directly on it, which I find hard to believe in the first place. But even if he's not, you can't avoid it. Like I told you on the phone this week, I'm a fat black dude with an iPhone. And I know what the hell's going on. Matt Reeves doesn't.
Okay. That's troubling. That's sort of the way things are going right now in terms of how we consume this entertainment knowledge, that people tweet out things from interviews that are maybe not as widely accessible. You just have to put out a sentence, and then it just travels all over the place. My whole Twitter feed, it's just like retweets of that quote.
Right.
Of Batman not being part of the universe and everything. Okay.
Right, which is why I get done with the sort of fanboy bloggers, because everybody tweets and then retweets the misinformation without ever checking with Matt Reeves or getting clarification from Matt Reeves or waiting for clarification from Matt Reeves. It just becomes misinformation. It's part of like the fake news cycle that is running rampant. And this is why I'm really trying to cut down on people I follow, because it just helps cut down on the bullshit that I have to read to get to the actual facts.
Interesting. So have you forgiven Matt Reeves? Are you okay? Let's go with the substantive thing about here. Okay. We got the misinformation from the Matt Reeves story. Now, Batman will be part of the DC EU, but the Batman movie that Reeves is going to do is going to be just a separate standalone story arc for Batman. In other words, there won't be any side characters showing up like Superman or Wonder Woman else. It's just Batman versus whatever enemy he's handling. Sort of like the Dark Knight trilogy.
I don't really have a problem with it being more of a standalone Batman story than, hooked into the rest of the mythos, like Captain America Civil War had, everybody and their grandmother. They might have well called it Avengers 2.5. I don't have a problem with that as long as, Ben Affleck is still playing the Batman that is in the rest of the DCEU. Then, like Wonder Woman, I don't think it's necessary for them to have a whole bunch of connective tissue for it to fit within the universe. Wonder Woman doesn't really reference any other DCEU movie, except for maybe the picture part at the beginning, which is like 10 seconds of her getting that picture from Bruce Wayne. And it doesn't, cause a problem. So I don't think that would be a problem in the Batman either. I just need them. I don't need them to include it in the DCEU, like, interweaving it throughout the whole movie. I just need them not to exclude it by saying some contradictory shit that confuses the rest of the saga. So
That's fair enough. It's amazing how it's almost like you really almost have to have a team of people out there monitoring the Twitter and responding to things, especially on these billion-dollar, $500 million properties out there. Because
I don't
part
know
of
why
the
you
whole
need a
thing,
team of people. All you need is one
well,
person. Get an intern. Get an intern to do it. They
well,
can't cost that much money.
okay, well, fine, get an intern, get somebody with good judgment, but you have to be able to put out these fires quickly
No,
because it
oh,
actually
you're right.
affects.
You totally do, but it doesn't take that much in this world of like connectivity for somebody to reach out, like some Warner Brothers intern to go, Matt, we've got all this bullshit spewing on Twitter. Can you give me a quote? How long could that take?
Well, I barely respond to all my friends' text messages. It may take at least 12 hours. I mean,
That's just
what do you leave
ridiculous.
on my voicemail? I will respond to all calls within 24
24
hours.
hours? Yeah. That's just ridiculous. There's no need for that kind of delay when all you have to do is tweet shit out. It takes 5 seconds. I mean, everybody's on Twitter. Fucking stars are all over Twitter.
You know what? You have to collect your thoughts. People dissect things anymore. I mean, you don't have to get tone. You could say something. You might think you're being funny, but people take it seriously. There's a lot to go behind that message. You better be very clear, especially with the fanboys. You know how they are. They're rabid animals. I'm one of them. I'm one of them because I'm going to be tearing Alan Taylor a new ass in this podcast briefly for 5 minutes. I'm not going to go on too long. But you talk about taking comments and just tearing them apart. Anyway, I digress. My anger rises.
Okay.
All right, so you think there should be an intern for over there at DC, Warner Brothers, that are handling this stuff?
Yeah, I think there should be somebody minding the fucking Twit store. Yeah, I do.
Well, we just created a job for somebody. Maybe we might get a shout out for that one.
I'd love to have that job. Sort of.
Oh, you'd be on top of it, huh?
I kind of would want to, and then I kind of think I don't necessarily know if I'd want a job within the industry because then it would sort of disillusion me from my enjoyment of like the fantasy, which I like. So I don't know.
Oh no, you're a company man through and through. You'd be sitting there going like, you'd be like Sean Spicer and Warner Brothers. Everything they shovel out, you'd be like, listen, this is exactly what we were looking to doing. The standalone Batman thing is going to be great. We have nothing but full confidence in Matt Reeves and everything he does. I mean, you'd be out there making it happen.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'd want it to feel. I don't know if it would be as fun as if it felt like a job, and then it would be less fun, and then I wouldn't want to be into it as much as I am. So I don't know if I'd like that.
Okay, you don't have to accept those paychecks. All right, let's move on to how do you feel about talking about Joss? Do you have enough emotional energy for it? Do you have any?
Do we have to? It's so unsavory. It's just unsavory.
I knew that talking about it, it would just take something out of you. There's certain topics you're just like this. I just don't know. It's nice out on a Sunday. Do I really want to have to open up this can of worms?
I mean, let's just put it. I mean, people probably already know the story that are listening to the show. If not, I don't know if we really need to go through it like fully. It's just that Jost has done some like maybe less than stellar things, which I'm sure everyone in the world has done. It's just that his shit got put on Front Street by somebody who was intimately in the know, and I would have to believe to be true because he put out a statement not denying it.
Well,
So
let's call it like it is. His ex-wife, who he's married to for over 20-some years, wrote a letter, and she put him on blast that he is not the guy that everybody thinks he is.
yes, but she wrote the letter and then sent it to a major media outlet. I mean, it's
Yes.
one thing if you're going to write somebody and be like, "You're an asshole, kiss my ass, I hate you, go to hell and die." That's one thing. You're allowed to tell people how you feel. I don't know why you have to give it to like Time magazine.
Let me read the last paragraph of her letter. Obviously, his ex-wife was saying that, she was with him right when he was becoming famous with Buffy and helping him out and guiding him along. And during that time, this is a loose version of what she's saying, that as he was growing more popular and powerful, he started like dipping his hand in the candy jar of the women that were before him. And this went on for years and years and years. In her last paragraph, until recently, Josh was still letting the illusion of our marriage stay intact. Now that it's finally public, I want to let women know that he is not who he pretends to be. I want the people who worship him to know he is human, and the organizations giving him awards for his feminist work to think twice in the future about honoring a man who does not practice what he preaches. But no matter what happens or how people interpret this statement, I no longer have to carry the burden of Joss's long-term deceit and confessions. I am free. So, does this message that's sent out by his ex-wife in any way damage the Joss Whedon brand? Which, by the way, there was I think it was like a Whedon-esque website that was very popular for
Yes,
all
I used to
things
read it
Joss
when
Whedon.
Buffy was going on.
Yes, has shut down, which presumably as a result of this revelation. Does this any way affect how you view Joss Whedon, his past work, or concerns with him on future projects such as Batgirl? I mean, it's a compound question I ask you. There's three different things in there. You can handle it how you want to handle it.
I'm disappointed that yet another one of my heroes has sort of fallen off the pedestal that they never asked to really be put on, that I placed them on because of their work. I think there is a difference to be noted between a person's personal life and the art when you have an artist that they produce. I don't know if that's a line that's fair to cross to say that somebody who's kind of maybe less than stellar in their personal life should be criticized in their art for their behavior outside of that. I don't know. It confuses me. It confounds me. I guess I'm disappointed in Joss because I just thought better of him than that. But I don't know if it necessarily puts me off of watching the Avengers. I'm not a person. I don't really go back. I haven't watched Buffy since it originally aired, and I really don't see myself doing that. And I don't see myself watching Angel. It's more the reputation of that show that I hold, dear, than the actual rewatching of that show. I don't know. I just think it's all unpleasant. I do find the timing of her statement and publicizing it to a major media outlet to be somewhat suspect. The way I understand it is their marriage dissolved in 2012. That was 5 years ago. They got officially divorced in 2016. That was a year ago. And now she decides to publish this in a media outlet. I don't know why, other than the fact that Justice League is now being taken over. One of the year's biggest anticipated movies is being completed by Joss Whedon. That's the only advantage I see to her releasing this information now, which makes me somewhat suspect about it.
Her motives?
Not that it didn't happen, but her motives for doing it. Yeah, it does.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go. I'm not going to question that part about it, but I think, let's just say, if I were to take some of the things that she were to say was true in her letter, I don't think that this really affects how I see Josh's work. Whatever he writes or directs. I think, like with you, I agree that certain things, like you look at some of these people, even though we don't know them, that we kind of judge them or imply things or expect things from them. It's sort of like the whole thing with Chris Pratt and Anna Faris. I don't know them, but they seem like a cute couple. And the fact that they're divorcing sort of makes me sad because I thought they looked like, they worked well together. Even though I'm not with them every day or know how they really interact, but it just was disappointing. So I guess in one sense, like to hear these things, you're kind of just hoping that Joss is just one of those guys who's wrote all these good shows, very talented, and he's married, and you're just hoping that, he's just a good guy. and maybe he's fallen a bit short, which we all do. And so I just look at it like that's maybe separate. I still watch Buffy, I still watch a lot of his shows, and I still enjoy them. I don't think it will taint it, but I guess in terms of receiving any type of future awards, if they, if like Oprah wants to bring him on the show and honor him for something or for advancing feminist roles and icons, I think that well is going to be dried up from here on out for him. I don't think there's any future awards coming his way without there being some sort of scrutiny.
I think it does more public relations damage to perhaps his career in the feminist genre, like, for example, the fact that he's supposed to be the leader of Batgirl, the director of Batgirl. I imagine that there's probably some discussion about, his fitness for that role in the Warner Brother DC offices after this was released. And again, it's just another one of those sort of nails in the DC coffin. I just feel like these people, no matter what way they turn, they seem like they're just cursed with bad luck or karma or something. I don't know what it is, but the wolves are out for DC, and they have been ever since Batman vs. Superman was released.
When we watch Justice League, if there's a scene where Wonder Woman isn't being like strapped in chains and Darkseid rolls down and be like, you know what, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you hard. At this point, everybody's going to be like, oh, here goes Joss again. His personal life is bleeding into the script. It's going to be written that way. It's going to be like, he's just a perv, and his perversion is now like in the film. He's putting it all out there for us to see.
Well, they can't really, they can't win. You're going to have people come out and say it's a Zack Snyder piece of shit. Zack Snyder's a piece of shit. Anything Zack Snyder touches is garbage. Blah, blah, blah. They might cut him some slack because his daughter killed herself. That might give them just a tiny bit of fucking pause. But outside of that, then you're going to have people talking about Joss Whedon being a pervert. So, I mean...
Now, we can wrap this up shortly here, but I will point out you did bring to my attention, because, we do talk about these things off the air, when Joss did Dollhouse. What year was Dollhouse? It came after Buffy and Angel, am I correct? Was that his next series?
I think it was in the early 2000s, maybe 2005 or 6.
Okay. When that show came out, here we go. It was 2000. Oh, that was the final episode date.
Well, it was only a season, so it had to be within the year of that final episode. So what? Oh no, I think it got 2 seasons.
Okay, well, final episode was January of 2010.
Okay, so like 2008.
Yes, and the Dollhouse, which apparently, depending on what website you looked at, there were some people who liked it and some people who didn't. There seems to be extremes, but it was about a secret facility. The Dollhouse erases the personalities of Echo and her fellow actives so they can assume any relevant personas that they may be assigned in engagements that cater to the wealthy, powerful, and well-connected. After each assignment, the actors are subjected to another personality wipe so they can enter the next scenario with no memory of an earlier one. At least that's the plan, but as the series unfolds, Echo's memories begins to return as she slowly starts piercing together her true identity. Either way, Bill, I remember watching this show because obviously we were Whedonites on this and following him down the path, and I felt it was just unsavory because I could not understand how we could have a show with a female who would go out and she'd be undercover like she was the Black Widow, sleep with a powerful man, get some information, they would bring her back to the facility, wipe her memory, and then send her out maybe to infiltrate and sleep with somebody else and wash and repeat. I was just like, this just seems just... Listen.
Let's put this in some context for why you were so fucking prudish about this whole issue, because I watched the show. I stopped watching the show not because I was offended by the subject matter or the presentation of the material. I stopped watching the show because I thought the show frankly sucked. But you were living with 2 young girls at the time. You had a live-in girlfriend, and you were, doing that sort of fatherly figure role, that stepfatherly role, and you were particularly offended because you felt like this was a bad message to send to those girls. I don't know if you would feel that way if those girls weren't living with you at the time.
I'm sorry, my morality doesn't function based on the people who are living in my house.
Yes, it kind of does because I remember when I would be, because sometimes I have tendency to have a potty mouth, and sometimes when I would say certain words, you'd like stare a hole in my brain and be like, "We don't say that word in this house." I was like, "Really? Fuck."
Okay, listen, I can tell you that's fine. That's just if you're looking at it from that situation, I can tell you I can separate that out, and it just wasn't because of the children in my house. I felt that the whole premise of that whole thing, the subject matter in quotes, it was just offensive to me. I was really turned off by that. Now that did not affect me in future Joss Whedon projects, but that was just a real big miss for me. I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but he's done a lot of things that I've enjoyed. But this has that Dollhouse you reminded me when we were discussing it was one of the worst things, and for my book, like would be the lowest ranked out of all his projects. Like I don't think anything comes near that.
So you draw the line at the Hobot girl being like programmed to sleep with people and then having her memory wiped. But when Buffy in season 5 is having loosey goosey sexual relations with a vampire in seedy alleyways outside of burger joints, that's okay.
Listen, Buffy was just trying to get her freak on. I don't know why you couldn't accept it that she was a buddy woman out there just trying to do her thing out there. She's invisible. All right, she's invisible. She's trying to have some fun with her man. I don't know why you know why it's because you put her character on a pedestal that somehow that she's only doing lovemaking somewhere in a canopy bed with rose petals after she's been wined and dined. You couldn't
No,
see
what
her
I
in any
expect.
other type of scenario that she might want to do something a little bit more risque.
What I expect
know?
from my superheroes and superheroines is that they don't perform common seedy alleyway sex acts and behave like nasty freakazoids. That's what I prefer from my superheroes. I
So
expect them to be superheroic.
so you don't expect Superman to be sitting with Lois Lane at a table and he's like, "So Lois, I'm glad to bring you this restaurant." And she's just like, "You know what, Soups? I've always loved." She goes like, "He's like, I know. By the way, you didn't wear any panties, right? Because I told you
Oh,
not to wear them
good
tonight for
God.
dinner."
No,
Is that
what
is
I
that
expect and what I expect is for Superman to kiss Lois Lane in the Fortress of Solitude and then give up his powers so they can end up in a big shiny walk chair like the inside of a Jiffy Pop popcorn bag, making love with like Vaseline on the lens so it's all fuzzy, and you just see him like cuddling, holding her, and he's given up everything just to be with her. That's what I expect from my superheroes.
I got you. Okay, you want to keep it classy then. That's what you want.
Yes,
You want to keep it
I do.
classy.
I want them to behave like moral people who have some kind of differentiation between the common man and themselves.
I see. All right, that's fine. I know that season 6 when she did that scene was always stuck in your craw a little bit. But either way, um,
But now
I
that we
don't
think
think
about
this.
it, now that we go back and look at stuff like Dollhouse and we go back and look at stuff like Buffy's sexual trysts at the end of the season, at the end of the series, and you go back and you look at sort of the stuff like the way he treated the character of Charisma Carpenter. What was her character's name?
Oh, what is her name? I forgot. I'll look it up.
Okay,
Damn it.
whatever her character's name was, she got pregnant by her boyfriend's son. And then you have Anya at the end of Buffy sort of being left on the ground as they kill all the bad guys like a piece of trash. All of these
Cordelia.
things, Cordelia, that was her. Anyway, all of these things sort of stack up, and you think it's just enough to make you go, now that you know the sort of things in this, it does sort of take your maybe viewpoint of what, you thought of Joss Whedon as a particular type of person, and you go, things that make you go, hmm.
Hmm. Well, yeah. I guess it's one of those things. They have this trouble in sports all the time too. Just as a comparison, where you have somebody who it's like OJ. somebody that does really well, they're athletic, and they get all this stuff, but in their private life, they're over there like chopping off heads. So, I mean, how do you separate them out? And some people sit there and go, no, I can't. This is all bad. All, all athletic accomplishments be damned. We're not honoring this man because his personal life was just so offensive.
Look, for DC, who has a really tough publicity issue anyway, and at this juncture in their launching their franchises and their DC comic book universe, the last thing that DC and Warner Brothers needs is another reason for the fanboys to come out with the fucking pitchforks and, come after them. So if I was a Warner Brother executive and this was the director I've chosen to do a Batgirl movie, I would have pause and say, I'm sorry, we know you're talented, but right now we just cannot take the risk of turning people off. They're already coming for us. So you're just not the guy we need on this project about a female superhero, considering the information that's just been put out about you.
Yeah, you're right.
And here's the idea. If you're gonna be a nasty skank motherfucker, maybe you should make sure either you pay people with hush money or you just change your behavior around the time that you're going to be trying to launch some kind of major feminist movie in your career. Here's an idea. Try not being a skeevy skank.
Bill, it's Hollywood. That's like telling birds not to fly. I mean, that's just part of the culture here. Come on. I mean,
well, then I understand. Then Joss is going to have to open up the piggy bank and start giving the bitch the money she wants, because clearly, I'm sure that was some kind of motivation for what she did with this information. Perhaps she didn't want, she wanted something he didn't want to give her, and then he called her bluff. Oops.
All right. Well, we'll see here. Let's put some. What do we think? Will he continue forward on Batgirl, or do we have to wait to see how Justice League does before they make a decision on whether or not to keep him on Batgirl?
I think if they're smart, I think that putting him on Batgirl is just a bad idea. I personally feel like it's just not a good idea. We'll see what happens with Justice League. I told you I have a feeling that it's not going to be a pretty sight when this movie is released. I really don't want to feel that way. I really would prefer to feel like, it's going to be a runaway hit. But I think Wonder Woman was the anomaly, and I kind of saw this coming way back when Batman versus Superman came out, and I sort of thought, Wonder Woman's got to do their sink or swim project, and thank God it swam. But it really isn't enough to shore them up as a company. I think they need to get at least a chain of 2 or 3 hits to be on solid ground. And I just don't know if Justice League is going to do it.
Okay. Well, Joss Whedon really didn't respond to K. Cole's letter. Maybe that was smart. But
he actually did respond. I don't have the quote in front of me, but all I remember from the response is that he didn't deny it.
Cray? Was it that bitch is cray?
No, that actually wasn't the response. He didn't respond. In fact, I don't think it was his personal response. I think it was maybe his agent or his publicist. But he basically said, I would have preferred that she didn't put this out there, but he didn't deny it.
Yeah, you really don't want to be having these arguments over Twitter. I mean, that's really I don't know if I would ever want to respond to something like that over Twitter. I would just rather just sit out there. But anyway, let's move on. Speaking of people who did respond, James Cameron, your boy, apparently saw Wonder Woman. And he had some thoughts on it, Bill.
Okay.
Quote, she's an objectified icon, and it's just male Hollywood doing the same old thing. I'm not saying I didn't like the movie, but to me, it's a step backwards. Sarah Connor was not a beauty icon. She was strong. She was troubled. She was a terrible mother, and she earned the respect of the audience through pure grit. And to me, it's so obvious. I mean, half the audience is female. Well, I'll let that sit for a second. Patty Jenkins did see what James Cameron had to say, And then she tweeted out some shit. I'll briefly read it and I can get your 2 cents. Patty Jenkins was quoted as saying, James Cameron's inability to understand what Wonder Woman is or stands for to women all over the world is unsurprising, as though he is a great filmmaker, he is not a woman. Strong women are great. His praise of my film Monster and our portrayal of a strong yet damaged woman was so appreciated. But if women have to always be hard, tough, and troubled to be strong, and we aren't free to be multidimensional or celebrate an icon of women everywhere because she is attractive and loving, then we haven't come very far, have we? I believe women can and should be everything, just like male lead characters should be. There is no right and wrong kind of powerful woman. And the massive female audience who made the film a hit it is can surely choose and judge their own icons of progress. End of quote. Bill, did James Cameron have to go there and open up a can of worms? Your thoughts on his comments as well as Patty Jenkins' response?
I think this whole thing is just so stupid. I just think this whole thing between James Cameron and Patty Jenkins is just, again, it's a product of a slow news cycle. And I don't know why either one of them has anything to say about the other one. I mean, Patty Jenkins just sat there and made ass tons of money this summer, is probably the highest grossing movie of the summer. James Cameron is James Cameron, so we don't really need to talk about what he's done. But James Cameron has, an opinion just like everybody else. And an opinion's like an asshole, everybody's got one. I don't know why James Cameron is suddenly commenting on a project that he really had nothing to do with, other than the fact that, like I said, it's a slow news cycle and somebody stuck a microphone in his face and asked him how it feels to watch, somebody else make all the money for a change. I don't know. And then Patty Jenkins, I think this kind of shit just feeds on itself. Like, I don't know why she felt the need to respond. James Cameron feels a certain way about women should be portrayed, and he's got every right to portray those in his movies. And I don't have a problem with the way he portrays women in his movies, but it's not the only way to portray a woman, as Patty Jenkins could show. And she chose a different path. I respect and like both of their work. I don't know why there needs to be a conflict about either one of them. I just think this is just stupid.
Yeah, I'm looking back on it. I feel like it's a little bit for me. I feel that comment, without knowing the full context of everything, for James Cameron seems to be a little bit like myopic. But when I look back at some of his movies, like The Terminator and Aliens, I think he's a fan. Like with Alien, like Terminator, like the idea of a woman starting off weak and then growing into a force to be reckoned with. Because both of those characters early on, at the beginning for him, all started off from humble beginnings, and then they became like giant heroes, strong people who can do amazing things. And I think he just likes that arc. That seems to be his thing. So I would think for me, I understand what you're saying. I do feel like there's more than one way to skin a cat. But no, that's interesting. Slow news cycle? Is that what we're calling that?
Yeah, I do feel like it's a slow news cycle. I feel like it's a non-story, and I feel like it was made, again, by Twitter in order to be a mountain out of a molehill.
Okay. Listen, are we a slave to Twitter? Is Twitter actually controlling us? Is that is that the Oz behind everything?
I find that Twitter right now is sort of like the way most people communicate and get their news, because it's just easy, and and it puts everything at your fingertips. So yeah, I think until something better comes along, which probably will happen, very soon, Twitter for me is my main source of news.
So if I can if I can avoid the libel laws, I could tweet out. I just heard from George Lucas that Jar Jar Binks is his favorite character in the whole Star Wars universe. I can just tweet that out.
Well, yeah, and you don't even.
I would imagine there would be a whole bunch of fire coming my way. Fire.
Well,
fire!
Yeah, well, right, because people are going to go, quotes or it didn't happen, bullshit. I mean, you're going to get a lot of tweet feedback for sure. That would be one way to do it.
All right, Bill, I need you to give me my space to breathe on this next topic, okay? I need you to give me my space. I'm not going to be long. I want you to know, actually, Superfan Carlos wrote a email over to the Game of Thrones people regarding this next subject.
When you
That's
hear this
how-
sound, your time is up.
Oh, okay. All right.
So here's the thing. I've listened now. This will be the third time to your
Oh,
anger
it's been
over
more than
this,
three
and I understand your anger, and I empathize with you. But there's only so much a person can take. So you're on a timer. Make it happen.
All right. Episode 6 came out. Obviously, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you watched it, and either you're just like you loved it, or you were like me with some of the other people who had major complaints, and the articles made their way onto the internet and Twitter that there was this huge whole time issue that was presented very clunky in the show. Now, the director of that show was Alan Taylor, and Alan Taylor has done some other great episodes throughout the seasons for Game of Thrones, which I did not know at the time, so I was just looking at it like they brought some hack on who fucked up this shit. So what I will say to his defense, that everybody could have a clunker. Now, what I cannot accept was part of what his response was. I will briefly read it regarding episode 6, which came out last Sunday for Game of Thrones. Quote, Alan Taylor, "We were aware that timing was getting a little hazy. We got Gendry running back, ravens flying a certain distance, dragons having to fly back a certain distance. In terms of the emotional experience, John and company sort of spent one dark night on the island in terms of storytelling moments. We tried to hedge it a little bit with the eternal twilight up there north of the wall. I think there was some effort to fudge the timeline a little bit by not declaring exactly how long we were there. I think that worked for some people, for other people it did. They seem to be very concerned about how fast a raven can fly, but there's a thing called plausible impossibilities, which is what you try to achieve rather than impossible plausibilities. So I think we were straining plausibility a little bit, but I hope the story's momentum carries over some of that stuff. It's cool that the show is so important to so many people that it's being scrutinized so thoroughly. If the show was struggling, I'd be worried about those concerns. But the show seems to be doing pretty well, so it's okay to have people with those concerns." End of quote. Fuck that shit, Bill. That's some bullshit right there. Okay, I'm upset. I'm going into Cujo mode. I don't have a noise for Cujo mode. Here, how about this? Listen.
You don't have a dog barking?
Okay.
Wake up,
You know what?
Scooties. Let him howl for a minute. Or for.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I got that.
There
Okay,
you
listen.
Okay.
I mean, this bothers me. I'll break it down to two things. We'll move on. Break it down to two things. One, whatever he was trying to do, or they, because it's a group effort, it did not come through. If they wanted to show that it was more than multiple nights stranded on the island, all they had to do was have one character look at another and go, "It's been 2 days without food." But the way it was shown, it looked like this all happened in 10 minutes. People going from one end of the country to the next. It just came across as just fucking weird. And if you had any type of common sense, you're looking at this going thing. And the problem is antithetical to the show. Everything that we've had for the past several seasons, these characters are on these long journeys, and it takes them multiple episodes to get from one place to the next. Now we have one episode to where they've gone back and forth around the world 15 million fucking times. It just doesn't fit the parameters that have been set up. It breaks all rules. Third, lastly, is this Alan Taylor with this whole, well, if the show wasn't doing well, I might be concerned. But fuck it. The show's a ratings hit. So we're just going to keep pushing forward. The train's not going to slow down. That's not the attitude of what I want. What I want is for the last several episodes of the season is for them to stick the landing and for them to work on the details. The details matter. You can't just do this whole, let's just do this broad paint stroke, this brush stroke over the whole thing. You haven't been doing that for the past several seasons, and you're starting to do it now. You're getting a little bit loose in the chassis. The bolts are coming off, and now you have somebody that's out there. The way I interpret it is that it seems like they're just kind of shrugging their shoulders, like it's no big deal because we've already got our checks and we've cashed them. I don't want that, and I think that keeps the show for me from being great and going into that Valhalla of shows for me, which that holds The Sopranos, The Wire, The Shield. You can put Buffy and Angel up there. If you want to make it into the pantheon of pain shows, my Valhalla, then this shit cannot happen. It cannot. Now maybe Alan Taylor doesn't want to put the Game of Thrones in my pantheon, and that's fine, but that's just stupid. It's just stupid. But, whatever else. I want you to know I'll be watching the last episode of season 7 tonight at 9 o'clock. My woman's bringing over monkey bread. I will be having Chipotle. And if I have to sit there and talk to you on Monday, Bill, again about the shortcomings of the show, I'm done. It won't be in my top 20. It won't be in my top 15. I can tell you that. I don't even have 15 shows. It won't be there. It won't.
Okay, but let's not act like you're not going to watch the last season. Even if they put a flaming turd of a dragon on the screen for 60 minutes and just let you sit there and watch it burn, you're going to come back for the last season.
Listen, I've already watched like 15 episodes of this Twin Peaks: The Return. I've watched Falling Skies. I've got no problem with watching flaming turds, okay? I'm just saying, I just need an outlet to complain. By the way, I promised Carlos that go ahead.
Are you watching Twin Peaks tonight too?
I don't know
if you're making your girlfriend sit through Game of Thrones, or if she's willing to sit through Game of Thrones, I don't know why you shouldn't actually torture her and make her watch an episode of Twin Peaks in real time. Talk about putting her to sleep. You could probably violate her 6 ways to Sunday after about 10 minutes of that show, and she'd never know the difference.
How many episodes are you behind on Twin Peaks?
I think I pressed pause at number 13. And I'm really not anxious to get back to it. Next week is the series finale, and I'm just not feeling if I'm going to be caught up or not. I think I might just wait and watch the recap or listen to read the recap and then decide how fast or if I even want to go back and finish it.
I'm really pissed that I'm actually paying Showtime $33 over these past 3 months here. I'm disgusted with myself and what I'm getting.
I'm not. You know what? I've decided that life is too short for me to sit through this kind of torture. I'm just not going to do it. I just, like I said, if I read the recap and it says something like it sounds like I must see this to make sure that, everything's turned out at least somewhat cohesive, then I'll go and watch it. If they give me some shit like Dougie sits down and falls asleep and turns into a silver ball, then I don't know if I'll ever see it. I really don't, because I'm tired of these games. I'm out.
Okay, I'll be watching over breakfast tomorrow morning. I'll probably put on Twin Peaks while I'm eating. I don't with my Sunday night, I kind of like to have my Chipotle and watch something that's going to be interesting and cool for me. And Twin Peaks is no longer in that rotation.
Speaking of interesting and cool, have you watched Defenders yet?
I have not.
What
where are you at on that?
Fuck. What the hell are you doing that you don't have time to sit over a bowl of cereal and watch an episode of Defenders on your 7-inch kitchen TV?
Bill, do you understand how much stuff is? I'm behind on all my shit. I just finally watched Alien Covenant. I still got Going in Style. I got Boss Baby. I got Chuck. I got The Promise. I got 4 movies sitting downstairs. I'm doing the podcast today. I got Game of Thrones. I got my woman bringing over monkey bread. And I'm watching instant watch shows on Netflix. I'm watching What Happened to Monday. I've added several more shows to my queue.
Why isn't The Defenders one of them?
The Defenders is one of them, along with What Happened to Monday, Death Note, The Incredible Jessica James. I got to finish off a few episodes of Last Chance U, Friends from College. Narcos season 3 starts in September 1. Bill, I'm sorry. You know what? I need to hit the lottery so I can just I can devote some time.
What the hell is that noise?
I'm sorry, that was the trailer from Death Note. It came on by accident.
Okay.
The Defenders is on there, but you know what it is? Just like you with the last episodes of Twin Peaks, I'm just waiting for somebody to come to me and say like this shit's really good. It's amazing so far. And then I might bump it up in the order of the queue.
I'm telling you, so far, we watched episode 4 last night. Starting with episode 3, it's so far 3 and 4. It's my favorite of the MCU Netflix shows.
Okay.
So I suggest you get on it. I don't know why you would watch all the other shows that lead up to the fucking Avengers movie and then not watch the Avengers. It's basically the Avengers for TV. Yes, it's a shoestring budget, but you know what? The fun comes in they're not having 20-minute long exposition scenes about some shit no one cares about, which is what the other episodes of these series tend to do. What you have is the 4 stars of the Marvel Netflix universe converging together, and they're just playing off of each other. It's kind of cool just to see Iron Fist and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and Daredevil interact. It's kind of cool. It gives this whole series a different layer of interest for me. And it actually tends to move along. Not to mention Sigourney Weaver is great, and you're always talking about how you like the complicated villains. She's really good. I mean, there's a lot to like about the show.
Okay. All right. So how many, what is it, 8 episodes?
Yes, we're going to watch 5 tonight. Episode 5 tonight.
Oh, you guys are moving very rapidly on this.
Because you know why? It's good. I don't sit there and go like this. What the fuck is that bitch going 119 for? Why the hell are these people spewing out flames from their face? Why is Laura Palmer's mother taking her face off? I don't have to do any of that with this show.
How is Sigourney Weaver doing on it?
She's very good. I mean, she's Sigourney Weaver. You can't fuck it up with Sigourney Weaver. She's one of those people like Samuel L. Jackson and Ian McKellen and, you know, Michael Fassbender that we texted about this week that, you know, they sort of elevate anything they're given. Sigourney Weaver's almost 70 years old. Did you know that?
No,
I would like to
really?
know what blood of virgins this bitch is drinking.
Wow.
Because she looks amazing for 70 years old.
I did not know she was 70.
Yeah.
Let me look that up. All right. All right. So that's all I have. You're giving, she's 67.
Okay. Still 67.
She still looks great. You know how tall she is? She's 6 feet
She's
tall.
6 Yeah, that's unusual for a woman.
Ah, look at her. Get away from her, you bitch. All right, moving on.
You need to
What
watch
else?
Defenders. I don't know what the hell is going on, but you need to put that in something to start watching it.
You know what? I'm going to take your recommendation. That's going to bump it up an extra 10%. Let's just be quite honest. I mean, what's becoming more and more apparent, there's a lot of these shows on Netflix as well as the other platforms for streaming. The streaming content for me is very strong nowadays. It's getting stronger, Bill. I mean, with the Fast and the Furious and the Transformers and the Pirates of the Caribbean crap, it's becoming a streaming world over here. Now, Defenders is part of that, but you got to stand in line. Everybody's got to stand in line.
Retard.
Oh, by the way, I saw Alien Covenant.
And
I gave it a positive review. What I realized, I think I already texted you this earlier this week, or I had to watch it in parts. But I was looking forward to finishing the movie, and I liked it. And what I realized watching it is the alien structure is very simple for me, but it works. And it's sort of like the way I like zombie movies. It's a simple concept. People are on a ship. They go to explore a world. They meet something unexpected. It infects them, and then they're trying to survive it. I kind of like that, and it works for me with all the characters, and it's a continuation from Prometheus. So I feel like a lot of the criticisms that I saw, like that I was lobbying its way from the trailer, and what I heard from critics were unfounded. The only part that was weak for me with Ridley Scott, which is I can see why they might have some sort of trepidation with him going forward, is that I felt towards the end it was unoriginal. Like the last, when they had the David versus Walter, the twins, and the one got onto the ship.
I liked that. At least that sort of was a surprise for me.
Well, it wasn't for me. It was fairly obvious that we're not going to end with the movie with Walter being the good guy and we're just going to go on the ship and that's the end of it. You knew that somehow that was David, and that we kind of went through this whole thing, and when she gets locked in the pile, she's like, oh, David. Like, this seems something like, I feel like if you're a moviegoer in and of itself, you can see this coming from a mile away. I don't think there was any subtlety or originality to it. You're trying to throw us off by going, I looked at his hand, so there's a nub, so it has to be Walter. Well, it's kind of like we all know it's not, because you're just sitting there going, it's not going to end this way. You're trying to figure it out. Maybe you should give him a test, run some diagnostics to make sure. But either way, I felt like that was kind of, I would say, derivative, unoriginal. And, I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes next. But I think it fumbled the last 15 minutes. But otherwise, the whole show was just very enjoyable. It's an alien movie.
I think the whole
went
movie,
a different direction and got a different director. I think Ridley Scott films, like his cinematography and everything else, how he shows the scenes are just great. They should keep him on board, but I think they could open it up and have somebody else come in and take a shot at it, like a different direction. I don't think I need Ridley for the next 3 or 4 that they were thinking about doing.
Well, the whole idea of resurrecting the Aliens franchise is as a vehicle for Ridley Scott. I don't think the movie would have been made if Ridley Scott hadn't been at the helm. Now, the fact that it's been financially somewhat disappointing might change the future picture, but they've gone the route of hiring other directors, James Cameron, David Fincher. I mean, they've done a lot of different people in this Alien saga. And I think, like I said, the whole idea. Now, they were going to do one with, what's his name from District 9? Neil Blomkamp?
Yeah.
That because Ridley Scott became more interested in doing the Alien reboot, if you want to call it that, Prometheus, the prequel, I guess is more like it. Then Neil Blomkamp's sort of Alien 5, which was going to take place after the last, what was it, Alien Resurrection? Sort of went the way of the dodo. Now, I don't know what's going to happen now because it didn't make a lot of money, and I don't know if they're going to reevaluate the whole plan for the trilogy or not. They've got too deep into it. By that, I mean 2 movies into a trilogy that they were planning, and I would prefer for them just to continue and give me the conclusion to this David saga that they've started. But I don't know if we'll get that. That being said, I did not feel like it was original entirely. The whole movie I felt was derivative. I mean, I didn't dislike the movie, but to say that the movie was unique or different than any other Alien movie, I don't know if that I would think that. I felt like it was kind of like,
I don't think in that regard it's not a negative for me, though. I can see if somebody wanted something a different vein, that's fine. But for me, that formula, it still works for me. That simple formula works for me. Crew on a ship, characters that are interesting, encounter aliens, they run. I mean, that's sort of it, and I like that.
You know who it didn't work for? Movie audiences. That's
well,
who it didn't work.
What's interesting, like you had this whole idea that they were going about this. What I felt was I felt a little disappointed not so much that the movie is still a pass for me. I felt disappointed only in the sense that they were trying to create a deeper mythos, and it kind of got chucked to the side a little bit. You were
and
having these
that was a
aliens, these big
response.
creature, and then all of a sudden, and now we're just back over there having David play God essentially, but we're still not addressing who the people really were, what all the stuff really was about. We're just going off on a different route.
And I think
And
that
that's sort
was a
of disappointing.
response to the disappointing financial take of Prometheus. So, in order to fix what they found to be lacking in Prometheus with audiences, they went and gave people what they thought people wanted, which was more of the alien version or the alien perspective of the story. And people have sort of somewhat rejected that. So now do they go back and finish the Prometheus, the story that they started, and concentrate more on the creation of the aliens, or do they just conclude with what they've sort of tweaked it into, which is now a sort of combination between the god that created the aliens and the aliens? I don't know. It's interesting to think where they would take it, but
I don't know where they go, but I think we've had this discussion a few times, and I'm always not a fan of like soon as you start trying to chase it and going like this didn't work, and so we're going to chase this because the fans want more action, and then you get there, and then the people are on something else. Like it's like catching smoke. I mean, it seems very difficult. The people tell you one thing, and maybe instead of just pushing through sometimes, I don't have an answer, but I know just because we go there and go, people didn't like it, and let's just give them more action. Then you give them more action, and then the people just sit there and go, well, this is just mind-numbing and stupid. It's baseless action, and you're just like, well, I thought you wanted that, and you're like, no. The people are. It seems like they're not complicated, but they can be in terms of what they want. They want it all. We want it all, don't we? I mean, I just don't want action. I want thoughtful action. Why can't I get it all? They've made movies like that where it seems to incorporate all of this. Why can't you give me that? So I don't know where they're going to go with it. But the Alien franchise, unlike the Terminator franchise, more of those movies seem to work for me, and it's really hard to get a fail for me from an Alien movie. I don't think the Terminator movies are of the same ilk or success.
I've seen a fail with an Alien movie. It's called Alien versus Predator 2.
Oh, okay. Well, I like that one.
Requiem, I think it was called.
I like them. I really like them all, except that one that starred what's his name, who kissed Halle Berry on the lips. What was her?
Who kissed
Adrian
Halle
Brody.
Berry? Is it
Adrian Brody?
Is that Alien versus Predator?
No. What was that? It was
Adrian Brody. First of all, Halle Berry's not in any Alien movie.
No, I said Adrian Brody.
Right. Is Adrian Brody in an Alien movie?
He was I'm sorry.
Predator 2? Are you thinking of Predator 2?
I was thinking of Predators. I'm sorry.
Okay, Predators. Right. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of put it in the same universe since they combined, so I'm a little bit off on comparison. Anyway,
I actually like AVP1. I think AVP1 is actually an entertaining movie, but most people don't. But that's nothing new.
You know what? I like them both. AV1 is very entertaining. The ship going out to the Antarctica, there's a blip, it's a training session. It's all very good for me.
What's that black actress that's in all the Tyler Perry movies that has the alien head that she uses for a shield?
Is that her? I don't really watch Tyler Perry.
Sanaa Latham, I think her name is. Anyway, I liked her.
But anyway, I hope, and I don't think that the Alien franchise should die. I think it's just there's so many things to do with it. But maybe it might be time for some new blood. I mean, this is the Prometheus started, and I think if they would have gone by, I think the problem is trying to come up with a mythos like the Matrix that sticks for people. And if you're going to open up this can of worms about like where do we come from and this, I think that shit's got to be tight. I think you really got to have that figured out because people are going to question it. Like they're going to be like, so wait.
While we're talking about the subject of news and where we get our news from, so I'm scrolling through my Twitter feed as we're discussing this on the show, and I came across a tweet that says it's from Twin Peaks Postcards. I don't know why I'm even following this person, But Twin Peaks: The Return has been a brilliant, entrancingly mysterious masterpiece. Thank God for David Lynch and Mark Frost for bringing it back. Unfollow. Unfollowed. Done with these people. I'm just done.
You know, I can't. I told you there. Every time I go to my Google on my phone, it pulls up my news articles, and it appears to be generated by things I normally click on. So always, what pops up is a Twin Peaks article, and for the most part, is 9 out of 10 articles are the ones that are on their knees kissing the ass of Showtime and David Lynch. And I'm going, what is going on with this? I mean, Showtime is taking the money that I'm giving them, and they're like giving a percentage to the writers to come up with all the stuff to keep us paying for the subscription.
It's like, I don't know what show these people are watching. I don't know what show these people are watching. I don't know what show these people are watching. God knows. I didn't sit down and watch the entire first season and the entire second season, making my husband watch it with me for the first time. He's never seen it before. To sit down and watch this fucking shit they're putting in front of me every week for 18 weeks. Well, 13 because I quit. But I don't understand what these people are talking about. Masterpiece? Masturbation is more like it.
Oh, technically, I don't think you can get it up while watching that show.
No, David Lynch, I think, is getting it up and spewing it all over the fucking floor while we're sitting there going, oh. He's like, yeah, this is, you want Twin Peaks? Here's your Twin Peaks, bitches. Yeah. I don't know. I'm so disillusioned about the whole thing.
All right. So what else do we got popping out there before we're nearing the end, so it's only going to end up being box office receipts. So what other news has popped up that we got? Anything going good in your hood?
Yeah, it's all good. I think we're going to probably, like I said, watch episode 5 of Defenders tonight. So if you would want to talk about it soon, it would be good for you to start watching.
Yeah, I'm always rushing to the shit for you, but you never seem
Really?
to rush it for me. Yeah, I mean, it's just,
Really?
I mean, it took you forever to watch Iron Fist. I polished it off. I wanted to discuss it with you, and you're like, I was on episode 9, and you're like, Chris and I are on 1. We have to rewatch it because we fell asleep. So where do we watch it? And it's going to take some weeks because he's working this weekend, so we're not.
Let's not act like if you were watching this show with your girlfriend that you wouldn't have to rewatch it because you fall asleep, because that would happen. It's just because you're watching the shit at like the ass crack of dawn that you don't. So.
Oh, it's a beautiful day out there. Okay,
Is it?
so if that is the case, let me hit the volume button. Here we haven't done box office receipts in so long. I don't even know what's going on. Who's making all the money? Apparently, it was
There's
a slow
nobody
weekend,
making any
though.
money. Apparently, I heard it was the most disappointing weekend box office of the year.
Fuck. I'm looking at it right now. Nobody went to the movies this past weekend. For the weekend of August 25 through the 27th of 2017, the number one movie, well, it looks like for maybe the second week in the row, is The Hitman's Bodyguard from Lionsgate. It pulled in $10 million.
I don't know. I kind of feel like a ho-hum with that movie. Like, I want to see it, but then I feel like it's just like a derivative version of Lethal Weapon.
Sure.
So why do I need to see that?
Well, I mean, because it has actors that you like. It's got Ryan Reynolds and Samuel Jackson. Even though it's derivative, it can still be fun with them, right? No?
I know. There's no must-see with it for me, though. There's just no must-see factor.
Okay. I would agree with you that there's no must-see. That seems straight rental for me.
Well,
I
that's
rental
97% of everything you see. So, of course,
I know,
it's
but I'm just
straight
saying,
rental
if
for you.
anything hits that, if anything smells a straight rental, it's that. It's got the stench of it on there.
Okay.
Now,
I think it looks a little bit more original than that, but it doesn't look original enough to get me to go see it, which, that's ironic considering every movie I see is probably not an original production, but
Well,
Again, no tights, no flights, no superpowers, no dancing, no singing, and no animation is no bill. So
So the budget was 30 million, and it's got a total gross of 39 million so far. So I guess that's a win. Number two, Annabelle Creation. Looks like
isn't that one of those Blumhouse schlockfests?
yeah. Well, things are going well for them. It costs. This is its third week. It pulled in another $7 million. It cost a whopping 15 million bucks. And
Ooh, that's high for them.
It's grossed. I'm going to give you the worldwide because it's so impressive. Production budget of 15 million, worldwide gross $215 million.
Never underestimate the ability to make money on schlockfests from Blumhouse. That's the
Listen,
lesson I learned from that.
you say it, but it sounds like you're being disrespectful. I feel as though they're
I'm
doing
not. I
things
respect
that-
their ability to make money. That's clear.
I think they're making stories that are not. They're somewhat original. I think they have their own. Like you would look at Marvel and their success and their formula with their movies. I think with Blumhouse and how they do their properties and their creative talent, I feel, being a horror movie goer, that the stuff they do is somewhat a different take on standard horror films. Like I'm not getting some Friday the 13th crap. It's a little bit different. And I think that I feel like it's starting to become a little bit stale for me. Like I'm starting to see the formula now. Like I know what's going to happen. I know what they're doing. But kudos. I think it's impressive.
No one's saying that what they're doing with their company and as far as what they're able to sell the public is not impressive. Anytime you make $200 million on something that costs $15 million, no matter whether you respect it or that's your genre or not, you have to step back and say, whatever they're doing, it's being met with applause. And audiences who don't really go to movies anymore are being drawn to those movies. That's clear. It's
Bill,
just not.
I need you to worship at the altar of Blumhouse. Worship.
No, you know what? When they make a movie that interests me, like Split or The Unbreakable Universe, I will be the first to be in the line to buy their ticket. But the horror genre is just not really something that I'm interested in anyway. It's not their fault. It's just not for me.
Okay. Well, apparently there was a Weinstein film that came out, Weinstein Company film animation called Leap. This was its first week of release. It made $5 million. Never heard of it.
Never heard
Stars
of it
that
either.
has the voices are Elle Fanning and Kate McKinnon.
It's an animated movie?
Yeah.
I've never heard
It
of
made
it.
5 million domestically. It made about 58 million overseas. I don't know who saw it overseas, but I don't know how much it costs. But I've never heard of it. I've never actually seen a trailer for it. I haven't seen any advertisements about it.
I haven't either, to be honest with you.
And if I think we haven't seen it, I am not even going to give it the due credit of looking up the plot or what it's about, because apparently we don't give a shit. Because if they can't advertise their shit enough for me to care, I'm not going to look it up. I'm not going to waste my Google. Number 4,
That's fair.
Wind River.
I think I have at least heard of this movie.
It pulled
That's
in
about it.
$10 million on a production budget of $11 million. I feel like I've been in cave. Maybe work has been busy. I have not heard of Wind River.
I've seen maybe a poster or something for it. That's about it, though.
What I realize now that Wind River has been out for 4 weeks, and
Really?
it cost. I'm sorry, it's been out for 4 weeks, and it cost $11 million. And its total gross so far after 4 weeks is $9,840,000. It hasn't even broke even yet after 4 weeks. Bill, this is a time that you probably needed to bring out one of those movies. Like if you needed to have a slot open, these couple weeks here would have been a good slot to like make your movie appearance. Like a Black Panther might be good around this time.
Right.
It's an open slot, weak competition. I mean,
I would venture to guess that probably somebody's going to schedule something for this window for next summer.
Okay. The number 5 movie is Steven Soderbergh film starring Daniel Craig called Logan Lucky.
I have heard of that movie, and it brought Steven Soderbergh out of retirement, from what I heard.
Okay. Well, apparently they threw $29 million at him for this film. And so far it's grossed $16 million worldwide in its second week of release. It pulled in another $4 million. I don't know if it's going to make it to its production. I don't think it's going to make it to its budget.
Steven Soderbergh movies aren't necessarily money makers. He's more one of those like last gasp of the auteur people who are getting movies made based on their reputation and their name alone. So
what's the
I'm
deal?
not surprised.
What's going on? Is it my fault that I haven't heard of Logan Lucky? What's
going on?
I haven't seen the trailer.
I haven't seen the trailer, but I've heard of it. I mean, again, are you not reading fanboy news sites? They're reporting about Logan Lucky. I think Channing Tatum's in it for one thing.
Yes, he is in it.
Not that that would mean that.
Hilary Swank, Seth MacFarlane, Katie Holmes.
Yeah, it's kind of an all-star cast in a way.
Yeah, sure.
And it sounds Quentin Tarantino-ish. I don't know for a fact, but that's what it looked like.
Maybe they could spend some of that money on actually advertising then. Maybe on a trailer, run through
it doesn't fucking matter. You're not going to see it till it hits your Netflix queue anyway. So
I don't know
why you're acting like you're offended.
I don't know why you always have to pull that out.
It's true? Is that why?
I've got 3. You know what? I got 3 movies on my list. I've got Thor, I've got Justice League, and I've got The Last Jedi. Now, I may see a movie, like we're trying to work this thing out with my woman where we go to the movies on Monday nights. It's like $5 night. She doesn't have to go to work on Tuesdays. That might be another little date night thing.
The cute part about it is that it's date night. The sad part about it is the only reason that you're looking at it as a thing to do for date night is because it's $5 night. That just really gets my goat. I mean, really? Why don't you just piss on the movie industry? Why don't you just go, you know what? None of this shit's worth more than $5 to me. So if you put it on dollar night, I'll go. Other than that, I'm out.
The industry is tanking. What do? I go to dollar night. There you go. That's what's happening.
Ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
My sister was up as we wrap this up here, and I was buying her lunch. And from Enzo's, it's sort of like I don't know, they have chicken bowls with broccoli and all sorts of things. It's like a Chipotle type of thing. And she sat there and I go, I'm going to get you a bowl. And she said, great. And she goes, can you also get me a can of Coke? And my response was, no, I cannot get you a can of Coke.
Because the can of Coke put it over the top?
It put it over the top for me. In my mind, there was a line I was willing to go past, and the can of Coke was over that. She could drink water. So when I got home, she just kind of looked at me and said, thank you for my bowl, but I guess no can of Coke? I go, no can of Coke. That's how I roll.
For God's sake.
That's how I roll.
So ridiculous. You would think the way you roll that your shit, you would have gobs of money just like hanging out of every pocket that you have. I know that you have the money, but you keep it well hidden. You're like one of those people that puts it under mattresses or something, or a floorboard in your house. I hope that house never burns down or anything, because I guess all of your assets are going to go with it. Because of things like not buying a Coke for your sister's lunch. Hope that makes you feel good at night.
I know, that's so sad. I'm so sad. And then my woman kind of looks at me and she goes, is this in my future? I go, no, baby.
She's finally catching on. Took her a while, but she's finally seeing it.
I go, nah, baby. Not you. It's everybody else.
Lies. It's all lies.
All right, Bill. Anything else to add?
Nope. I think we're covered. I think we did a pretty good job of catching up for the last, few weeks that we were out. So, I got Force Friday on Friday, so I'm going to go out and buy all the Last Jedi toys at midnight on Thursday night. I'm off work Friday, so that's super even better.
Ooh, you're off on September 1st?
Yep. I can't read the card backs though because the card backs have spoilers. But I will be finally getting my Jedi Luke, from the end of Force Awakens figure. So that'll be cool.
That's very exciting. Do you have a special place that you're going?
I'm actually probably going to hit 4 stores because it looks like everybody's doing a Midnight Madness. We've got Target opening at midnight, Toys R Us opening at midnight, Myers is open 24 hours anyway, and Walmart. So.
Oh, that's very exciting. Yeah. All right. So with Force Friday, we're gonna have any trailer that's coming with that, or no?
No. It's just toys and bullshit. But you should probably expect to see a lot of Star Wars shit in the stores in the next couple of weeks. So.
I look forward to you regaling you with the story of what toys were being left on the shelves and being rejected by the children. I look forward to that.
How much do you want to bet it's going to be Finn? Again.
We got to keep track of the Black Panther toys to see what's going to be. I need the numbers to see if those.
Here's my prediction. Have you ever heard of the word peg warmers? I predict the Black Panther figures are going to be swinging from the pegs. Especially that bitch with the panther paws.
You know what? If we can somehow schedule, what's his name, Perlmutter, to come on the show to tell us why he only made 10 Black Panther toys, where he'd be like, of course, nobody's buying Black Panther stuff.
We'll see.
All right, Bill. We got a minute before my music runs out. I've been your co-host, Payne.
I'm Bill.
And thanks for listening to episode 51. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye. Thank you.